Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, though we're currently in Ages. In the last part we did some more stuff around Holodrum and got 2 more secrets which we're going to put to use now. First off, this one here is for the Tokay game. You might actually recall this from the Ages Let's Play. This is the one where we have to throw meat to the Tokays, going to the left and right of this screen. I was actually planning to edit this out in general, which I think I actually still do, never mind. It's the exact same thing, except there are more Tokays, honestly. But for doing that, you got a bigger bomb bag. The maximum, actually, at 50 bombs. Next up, we're going to be heading back to the target minigame in Rolling Ridge in the past. Because the Goron that we were told to get a secret to is the Elder who's in here. For doing this, we get a painful minigame, to say the least. He's going to give us the Great Biggoron sword, however, he needs to test if we can use it. So we're going to use it for the baseball minigame again. Yeah, I didn't like this enough already as it was, so now I have to use a giant sword. No, seriously. Look at this thing! It is really tedious to have to hit these things, to the point where I'm going to edit to my victory here. That took about 4 minutes. But for doing that, we got it. Am I going to use it? Not in Ages, that's for sure. Seasons, I might use it on bosses. Write down that password, and then we're pretty much done here in Ages. Also, that might be the last time you ever hear that. And now we're back in Seasons in Furore's little thing. Also, I praised the 2 rings I had off-screen, which were the Green Joy and, Subrosion ring. And now we can hold up to 50 bombs. And let's get that Biggoron sword. You know, I do have to wonder what the exact coding process is for all the password stuff, because that seems like it would be a nightmare. Hell, that's why the 3rd game ended up getting axed just for Seasons and Ages to exist, because it was so complicated as it was. But yeah, the Biggoron sword, I'm not going to use it often, it's pretty much just going to be a boss destroyer. Anyway, now we're back at Mount Kuko, because, well, this is where progression is. And we're going to head on to the 4th dungeon. Mind you, we don't have it unlocked yet. You can probably tell where it is on screen right now. But we still need to open the damn thing, so let's make it winter. Oh, come on. That's one thing I wish they did in this game, and if they ever remake these games as like one giant collection, I would love to see this. A selection screen for which season you want to make it. Mind you, it doesn't take that long to switch the seasons, but it'd be useful. Kind of like how Ocarina of Time 3D made the Iron Boots a usable item. Speaking of which, Majora's Mask 3D, even though I know I already freaked out about that at some point. Oh well. Oh, stupid beetles. Anyway, this is just a basic platforming section. Try not to fall in the holes. You're supposed to lift one of those rocks up, but as I've shown you multiple times, you actually can barely jump 2. Without a Pegasus Seed. With a Pegasus Seed, you can actually jump over 3 if you're good enough. Well, 3 pitfalls. I think lava tiles you can't jump 3 with. It all depends on the kind of hazard, really. Like I mentioned back in Ages, you can tell if a plant or rock is actually one of those beetle things if the texture underneath it of the ground is still visible. Otherwise, it's just a blank square as an environment tile. Anyway, we have another one of the flying cuckoos. Mash the A button as usual, and you should make it over here, no problem. For the keyhole. Yeah, that makes physical sense. No, seriously, there's still water there. They just cut off the sprite. How does that physically work? Mind you, how does anything in Zelda physically work? And that's where the dungeon is, but we need to make it summer before we can enter. I don't like it when they make the dungeon season exclusive, honestly, because that's just an extra level of tedium. Either way, welcome to Level 4 Dancing Dragon Dungeon. Love the music here, by the way. This is going to be a bit of an odd dungeon, to say the least, but I'll get into more why later. Well, first off, it's the first dungeon that we've been to that has 3 floors. For some reason, the rails are kind of picky as to when they'll allow you to hit the switch. Like, there have been times where I'm perfectly on the tile that the thing switches and it still forces me backwards. Anyway, in this room, you're going to want to bomb the wall that's on the right here because, well, stuff. Namely, this puzzle. What you have to do here is lift the top and bottom jars on the middle row, and then push the other vases onto a switch. There'll be one left over, that's where you stand, as I cut to right around now? Yep. Nah, it's just more of a time-consuming thing than anything. You know, I'm okay with puzzles, but I'm not okay with puzzles that are just pretty much delaying time. I like my puzzles to actually have some amount of thought to them. Mind you, if I thought I'd be playing Ages, which I already did. So, yeah. That's the one disadvantage of Seasons. I like it overall better than Ages, but the puzzles just aren't as interesting. Thankfully, the Hero's Cave does mitigate that somewhat, but that's only if you play Season 2nd. Anyway, we want to push these blocks out of the way to get to that staircase, because that's where progression is. It's also in this dungeon we start getting whiz robes. Like in Ages, there are 3 varieties of them. Green, which stay in their position no matter what, though they will rotate to face you. Red ones, which teleport around randomly, and blue ones, which you can phase through walls. Pretty much the exact same way they were in the original game. Anyway, over here we get Zolls. No, we get the dungeon map. Which, as the name of the dungeon implies, looks like a dancing dragon across the 3 floors. Don't really get that design element, but okay. Oh, great, this section. This is a section that haunts my nightmares. Not for this room. This room is pretty basic. You just have to jump across the green platforms. However, the next screen gives me Mega Man flashbacks. Reappearing, disappearing blocks. Why you haunt my... Well, actually, no, why you haunt my dreams. Wouldn't be a Capcom game without something like this appearing at some point, wouldn't it? One of the many reasons I'm glad that they changed their design outlook somewhat for Minish Cap. Anyway, what you're supposed to do in this room is light that torch so you can see the pathway, but as you can plainly see, you can still see it even with the lights off. And it only leads to a small key. So, yeah. And that was actually intentional because it got me back to here quicker. Like in Ages, by the way, if there's a 2D section, I'm cutting to the other end of it once I'm done with that stuff on the one side. This is where the dungeon, if I recall correctly, starts to kind of trappy. Is it? I'm trying to remember. No, I think there's still one more screen. Because the thing with this dungeon is, I think I showed it off, but there was actually a locked door in the entrance room. So at one point, you're actually going to have to backtrack out of there, which I recommend if you want to do that. I recommend you actually, Oh, no, it's right now, actually. Yeah, it is. I recommend you actually save and quit the game and then start your file back up to get here quicker. In fact, that's what I had to end up doing, because kind of got trapped there by the rails. Oh, well. Anyway, bomb this will offer another optional... Well, actually, no, not optional, for another hidden room. It's here we get the jumping Stalfos. These guys were in Zelda 1 and are in plenty of other Zelda games. They like to jump around your sword slashes, though one thing they can't really figure out how to do is jump away from a pointing stick. Because your sword can be charged up and ready to hit them, and they won't attempt to dodge it at all. They only try to actively dodge the slashes. And pushing that gets us the compass. Which is oddly late in the dungeon, admittedly, because there's only 3 chests left. Also, one thing I don't think I've mentioned at this point is which Link this is in terms of the games, because obviously most games have a unique Link, but some of them go through different games. This specific Link is the exact same one who was in not only Link's Awakening, but A Link to the Past, actually. I forget what the order is. I think it goes A Link to the Past... Seasons, Ages, Awakening? Mind you, with the Oracle games, I think they're pretty much interchangeable in the timeline, though the Hyrule Historia, I believe, does state that Seasons technically happens first. But I don't care, because I like to go Ages first because of the Dimitri thing. Anyway, this room is actually something you're going to want to keep in mind for later. Not for the room itself, but for what you have to do in it, besides, well, killing all the enemies. The item will fall into the water, and you need to dive in to get it. Keep that in mind for when we have to get the boss key later on. Like in, well, first off, I forget what any of the owl statues will say in this game, honestly. Why? Well, first off, I know the game well enough by now to the point where I don't need to, and second off, I like having mystery seeds. Mind you, have I used a single mystery seed yet? I don't think I actually have. Well then. Oh well. If you want to use the mystery seeds on the statues to get hints, you can do that yourself. I know the game well enough. Like, I think an upcoming owl statue hints to you what you have to do for the mini-boss. Which I know how to do, mind you, but that's me. Now, try as you might, you actually cannot light these torches yet. We'll find out what we can do with those in a bit. First off, here's a small key in that chest, but that grass there is actually a Deku scrub you can buy 20 Ember Seeds for like 10 rupees from or something like that. You might be wondering what you need those for. Well, let's just say the mini-boss requires them. And here he is, actually. Get your Ember Seeds out. I doubt I'll run out. Meet Agahnim, you know, the guy from Link to the Past. The way this boss works is that he splits up into 3 copies of himself. And the one that has the shadow is the real one. However, you can only see the shadow when both torches are lit. I would you might want to use the Biggoron sword for this fight if you have it, but honestly, the normal sword works better because you never have to change out your Ember Seeds then. He's pathetically easy if you keep him in a stun lock like I am, but if you don't realize the trick, this can be kind of a hard fight, actually. And before we continue on, let's take a look in the right. This guy is another wise old man. He hints towards where the boss key is. What you seek is in the eye. Keep that in mind for later. It's not actually in the eye of the map, but we'll find out later. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 11, we'll be continuing on in the Dancing Dragon Dungeon, probably ending it in the process. See you guys then.